Ooh. Socks, I dropped the phone. How is everyone? It's Sunday, kind of lunchtime-ish, and we're reading and drawing and sitting in our study having tea, aren't we, Socks? Got my Aladdin Sane mug and my daft cat. I hope everyone's well. This weekend I've been thinking about comics and when I used to read Marvel comics when I was a kid, and it's ended up with me doing all kinds of drawings and doing them in pencil and felt tips, and then taking photos of them and putting them through digital ink and using Procreate and doing all sorts of crazy drawings, because I've been enthusing inside my own mind about the comics I used to read when I was, I don't know, from being about 5, when I used to get comics delivered to the door that would give me nightmares, things like Dracula Lives and Planet of the Apes, and then going through all my enthusiasm for superheroes. And I guess it lasted until I was about 15, and Secret Wars came out, when all of the Marvel superheroes were transported to an empty planet and made to fight by the Beyonder. So I had a good while of my childhood reading comics like this. This is the Titans. This is an issue from 1976. One of the problems with having terrible glasses from Specsavers, and I've talked before about how I don't think they did a very good job on my last prescription. Lovely customer service, but terrible glasses. But these things are printed in such a I mean, Titans was especially tight. They used to put 2 American pages on 1 British page in black and white, but they were tiny. And when I was 5 and 6, that was fine. I picked up this one. It came from a batch of comics that I got from Ian at Cromford Collectibles, who occasionally sends me parcels of stuff, mystery boxes that I send off for. And this time I asked for Marvel UK comics. Anyway, I sat down with one of these this week because I was thinking about the Fantastic Four, because of the movie being out and all the enthusiasm for the Fantastic Four. And I wanted to read a Fantastic Four thing that I must have read at the time. And this is the one where it's the time when Sue and Reed's child is born, Franklin, who turns out later to have spooky powers as well. But they send him off to be kind of looked after by Agatha Harkness in her spooky castle. Like another character that, of course, we know from other areas of Marvel now. They've changed her out of all recognition. Back then, she was a rather frosty old dame living in a castle, and she was a witch, but she was really frightening and a kind of babysitter. Anyway, when the Fantastic Four go there, they're set upon by the Sinister Six. They're some of their worst enemies, and there's a fight, of course. It's a good hefty chunk of an American comic. One of the reasons, I suppose, for making them as small as microfiche and reducing them like this was that you fitted an awful lot of story into one comic for 9p. Rereading this, whenever it was the other night, all the language came back, the way that the thing talks, what a revolting development, and all that stuff. These voices are still in my head after all these years. All these years have gone by, and these characters are still so familiar, which is amazing, really. When I went to town on Friday, we went for the afternoon for a scout around, and I'd asked my friend Bob to give me some comics recommendations, because he buys comics all the time and goes in I think on a Wednesday in London, to buy all new comics. And the recommendations I got from him were great, but I couldn't see any of these things in Forbidden Planet or Travelling Man comics in town. I ended up choosing completely other things, kind of choosing it not at random, but following my nose, and ending up with two wonderful issues, recent issues. There's this thing at the moment, Fantastic Four Fanfare, which seems to be short stories written by kind of guest authors and artists that they think a lot of. And this one includes this wonderful origin story. It's by Dan Slott. An origin story for the Thing, which we've never quite seen before, reaching into his childhood. I've forgotten how much these characters really meant to me. You can see it takes its cue from the Jack Kirby art of the time, of the 60s. But the story it tells is much more humanised than perhaps. But then Marvel Comics were the beginning of humanising these superhuman creatures. We just live in a time where we expect more story, I suppose. That's the point, isn't it? More and more story. And then the other one was this, I don't know what the series is called. It's where they pair people up. And it's all written by J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote Babylon 5, and he's a comics writer these days. And this is a kind of origin story for the Hulk. He's sent back, his astral body is sent back by Doctor Strange to his moment of origin in the explosion of the gamma rays, back in, whenever it was, in the 60s in real terms. Because Bruce Banner wants to find out why he became the Hulk. What was it about him that made him into a rampaging monster when other people who've been hulked by gamma rays have turned into something better, like the She-Hulk has. And it's all about life force. And actually what he becomes is life itself struggling to survive. It's quite touching, really. And again, the character of Bruce Banner and the character of Doctor Strange are kind of absolutely etched into my mind. They're so familiar to go back to. And there's a snarkiness and a wit to the way they do things these days, and a kind of fourth wall breaking comedy. All the way through, these little moments where they turn aside and look at us, and we expect a certain kind of sophistication like that, I suppose, as well, these days. But then I think that was always there, the fourth wall breaking stuff. At the end, there's a story about Agatha Harkness and Aunt May. Agatha Harkness again. And their book club, and how their book club ends up with them fighting Cthulhu and these kind of H.P. Lovecraft creatures coming through from another dimension in just a few pages. Very much my kind of story. Yeah, so that was just dipping into two recent comics. Over the years I've thought, oh, none of this stuff is for me anymore. It's not my kind of thing. I grew up out of that stuff at 15. None of that's true at all. It's still a world that's there for me, which is really nice to find out. I think because it's been so well looked after. I'm sure people will debate this, and I'm sure the hardcore fans have all kinds of opinions. Like, fans who know a lot about things always do have lots of opinions. If you ask people in Doctor Who fandom about the state of Doctor Who, you'll get lots of opinions, not all of them good. But it seems to me that the people making comics, Marvel Comics these days, must have been massive fans back in the day as well. They know it inside out, and it's with reverence, but also irreverence, that they go back to it and inhabit these characters and these worlds again. and I think that's good. I think that's a healthy thing to do, to pay homage, but to be able to do your own thing with inherited characters like that. And I just love the colours. That's what I love comics for. They're just so expensive. These two cost something like $4.50 each, which is crazy. I mean, they are all beautifully printed these days. It's not like when I haven't got an example to hand, but even the American comics back in the day were really shoddily printed on, toilet roll. And nowadays it's all beautiful, glossy, and wonderful colour. I'd forego some of that to save some money, perhaps. They seem like a luxury item. That's what they seem like. And, kids with their pocket money couldn't afford them, which is a shame. I liked it when newsagents had all the comics and they cost about 10p. That seems important somehow. But they've become, instead, a luxury item. Socky, we're going to go now, aren't we? I'm still reading Little House on the Prairie. I'm doing a reread of the second book in that series. Being shocked at the harshness that I'd forgotten about. The getting stuck at the bottom of wells and attacked by wolves and all of that stuff. If you want to know how to make a house out of wood, you could read this book. She goes into quite a lot of detail about how Pa builds their house, which I guess is important, but it does go on a bit. Right, I shall go. I'll be back on this week. We're coming up to the end of the month, so I'll be doing my July in review. Quite a funny old month where I followed my nose again. And I stuck to some of the book bag reading, but mostly I diverted into young adult and children's stuff and cartoons and comic strips and literary essays, and a little bit of thrillers, but not much. And soon after that, it'll be the beginning of the month, and I'll be opening up the next bag, the next random mystery bag, and we'll see what's there. August promises to be extremely busy with notes coming in for 3 different writing projects that I'll have to attend to fairly quickly. A new thing that I have to write in the next couple of months. The 3 projects needing notes and kind of rewrites doing to them are going to be huge, I think. Levy Pride, which is a big deal in 2 weeks' time. That takes a lot of time and energy. And a Doctor Who convention at the end of the month of August, where I'm a guest. That'll be a busy weekend. So there's lots and lots coming up in August, and we haven't had any kind of holiday yet. I don't know what's going to happen about that. And so reading better not take a back seat to all of that. I'm going to have to make sure that I get proper time to read in August. It's still summer reading. It's still fun reading. That's what I think. Okay, goodbye everyone, and say goodbye, Socks. We'll see you again quite soon.